Hi, I'm Mukunda Alladis, and welcome to my video and new YouTube channel where I will be discussing current events and where I stand on these issues. Before I do that, however, let me tell you a bit about myself. I was born and raised in New Jersey, Perth Amboy to be exact, and I have graduated with a bachelor's degree of science and accounting from Monmouth University. When I went to London, England recently, I went to a restaurant. It was raining, I was starving, and I had the cash to pay for the food I wanted at the restaurant, but I was not allowed any food simply because I had no means of paying electronically. So finally, I met up with a cousin who lived there, and she paid for my meal. So I noticed that many other stores, just like this restaurant, did not accept cash payments. So this got me thinking, not all of us have access to a cashless society, which I feel strongly about this issue. So today's topic of discussion is going to be about cashless stores. So, what is a cashless store? It is a store that does not accept cash as a transaction for purchasing goods. It accepts electronic payments, which are digital ways of transferring payment from one party to another. So, electronic payments consist of credit cards, debit cards, virtual cards, and ACH payments. Now, why do businesses think cashless stores are a good idea? Well, good question. It's hard to handle physical cash. Did you know that according to an article in the Federal Bank of Reserve of San Francisco, small and medium-sized businesses pay tens of billions of dollars on expenses just to handle cash? Cashless stores will not only get rid of bank fees to deposit and process cash, but they also do not have to pay for trucks to transport cash to and from the bank. There's also a lower probability of theft. If you do not have cash on hand, it's less likely that you'll be robbed. Due to theft, which leads to shrinkage of cash, U.S. businesses lose $60 billion per year. 26% of being gas stations, convenience stores, or commercial residences. Also, electronic transactions are much quicker. It is hard to compute cash for both employees and customers. The Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Stadium found that transition to cashless stores resulted in faster transactions and increased store output. So, now that we've covered the benefits, obviously there's going to be benefits and drawbacks to any political or any new implementation of any sort. But these cashless stores in particular have more drawbacks than benefits. So this and we're going to get to the drawbacks now. So the drawbacks are the overall are not good for society. They overall are not good for society. They outweigh the benefits. So we're going to get into the drawbacks. They create a middleman. So if a debit or credit card company will have to record the transaction and the payment is not recorded in the database at that time, that would render the transaction invalid. They leave out low-income communities, especially homeless people. Low-income communities would have very limited access in a cashless society because it requires a level of financial stability that they simply do not have. Now, people would ask, oh, well, why don't they just open a bank account? Which the answer is, it's not simple and the process is bureaucratic. Therefore, the requirements are very hard to fulfill. First, you need an ID, in which many poor people and elderly people do not possess. Then they would need to carry other documents such as utility bills or other proof of address, which homeless people do not have. Then you have the problem of identity theft. With an ongoing prevalence of digital transactions, there comes the risk of credit card fraud. Credit card fraud occurs through high-tech means like computer hacking or by simpler means like stealing a wallet and obtaining credit card information or obtaining credit card statements in the trash. People will steal credit cards to enhance their own credit score. Now, this is not to say that there are no problems with people carrying cash, but with credit cards, people can charge you multiple times, whereas with cash, when they steal cash from you once, they can't steal the same cash and get it again. The credit card holder can not only lose a significant amount of money, but can also get their credit score damaged. So, among 30,000 identity theft cases, 24,939 of those were due to credit card fraud. Other identity thefts include problems with emails, social media, insurance, medical services, online shopping, payment accounts, and investment accounts. With cash, you significantly reduce the risk of your information being exposed to other parties. Also, cashless stores will have the tendency to leave some consumers behind. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, 6.5% of U.S. households were unbanked, which does not seem like a huge part of the population, but that amounts to 8.4 million households who don't have a debit or credit card. So these statistics only account for unbanked households. Now, an underbanked household is a household that, while they have a bank account, they use other financial services in the form of money orders, payday loans, and check cashing. So the 8.4 million households that go up to 24.2 million when you factor in the underbanked households. The 2019 findings of the Diary of Consumer Payment Choice found out that 56% of unbanked consumer bank choices are made using cash. Uh, So there is more to this problem. New York City, despite being the hub of Wall Street, Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo, does not provide adequate banking services to Black and Latino communities. According to the 2016 Banking Urban Affairs Review, for every single bank located in the city's majority white census tracts, Black tracts only had 0.18 banks and Latino tracts only held 0.35 banks. So while the transactions are quicker, they will also be more expensive. Merchants pay 2 to 3% for each credit card transaction. Now, normally that is not a problem because not all customers pay with credit cards. But with cashless stores combined with only 2 to 3 credit card companies, there is not enough competition to drive down the prices. Merchants of small businesses will not be able to negotiate lower prices, so they will have to pay the credit card companies fees that will be more often than not greater than the profits they make. If cashless businesses become a rising phenomenon, it could affect the transactions of consumers who rely heavily or entirely on cash. According to the 2019 findings from the Diary of Consumer Payment Choices, the 23% of cash transactions were at fast food restaurants, coffee, and go meals. Second was grocery stores, which was 18% of cash purchases. After that was gas and general merchandise, which was 13%, and person-to-person payments, 10%. And finally, we have sit-down restaurants, which are 7%. So these percentages will definitely fall if we ban cash at those places. And that does not necessarily translate to them obtaining some sort of way to perform transactions digitally. As I explained earlier, how hard it is for low-income people to obtain a bank account or a debit or credit card. And cash stores are not necessarily resilient. In Sweden, when the mobile payment app Swish crashed for 4 hours during a football event, the spectators were very angry because they had no means to purchase food and drinks, and the organizers suffered losses. Whereas if they were cash friendly, their profits would not have been compromised. Now we get to the part about it being about online crimes. Very little evidence is available in an online crime. A physical bank robbery are not necessarily easily to solve, but they provide evidence such as surveillance videos, fingerprints, shoe impressions, and witnesses. But in the case of an online crime, without an immediate response by skilled cyber investigators, the information is completely gone. So, getting back to Sweden, what gets even scarier in places like Sweden is not only do they intend to move to a cashless society, they're actually going to go forward with it. So, in other words, businesses are allowed to put a sign up on their store and say they don't accept cash thanks to Swish, which is, again, the payment app. So, all you need to do is connect your mobile number to your bank account. You can do a lot of things with the app, such as share restaurant bills with your co-diners, give and take money, collect money for any said cause, such as a donation or fundraiser, and obtain goods at street markets. So, I know what you're going to ask. What can we do before we entertain the idea of going completely digital? Don't worry, all is not lost. There are some solutions. So, getting back to Sweden, what gets even scarier in places such as Sweden is not only do they intend to move to a cashless society, they're actually moving forward with it. So, for example, businesses are allowed to put a sign up on their store and say that they do not accept cash thanks to Swish, the payment app. All you need to do is connect your mobile number to your bank account. You can do a lot of things with the app, such as share the restaurant bills with co-diners, give and take money, collect money for said cause, such as donation or fundraiser, and obtain goods at street markets. Now, I know what you're going to ask. Is there anything we can do to make before we can go completely digital with cash? Actually, there is. What we could do is include and expand postal banking. So postal banking can and will provide communities of color and low-income individuals access and invite further opportunities to a broader array of financial services, which include bank accounts, small loans, and check cashing at a much lower rate than their traditional financial institutional counterparts. This is not a pipe dream. Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown created a Banking for All Act. So this legislation has plans to include digital wallets, which bank accounts, which are called federal accounts. The person holding the account will be able to deposit funds, save, pay bills, withdraw cash, and create automatic bill payments. Now, the already traditional existing banks are not going to be happy with this because with this option they won't be able to use overdraft fees to charge their customers even further. However, a legitimate point to be made is Fed accounts will have to go through a massive transformative process, but it is necessary, and not only is it necessary, but it's doable. It's a feasible process. And if we could do this, not only will I give cashless stores a second thought, I will be more likely to embrace the idea. So, thank you for watching this video, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. The URLs are at the end of the video, and if there are any topics you want me to talk about, then send me a list on my email, and I will get to them. Later.